Steph's very first professional sneaker deal wasn't Nike, and it certainly wasn't Under Armour. It was Adidas. Yup, Steph's early career, including his unforgettable run in the 2008 NCAA March Madness tournament where he captivated the nation, was laced up in Adidas. They saw enough potential to ink him to a deal right out of Davidson in 2009. For a few years, it seemed like a perfectly fine partnership. But then came 2013 and the critical moment of renewal. By this point, Steph was already establishing himself as a deadly shooter and a key player for the Golden State Warriors. He'd averaged over 22 points and 6 assists the previous season. He wanted to stay with Adidas and was comfortable, but here's where their pride really got in the way. Adidas simply didn't prioritize him. They had their established stars already, guys like Derrick Rose, who was then an MVP, and the emerging Damian Lillard. They were heavily invested in their existing roster and just didn't see Steph as a Tier 1 athlete worth breaking the bank for or even making a real effort to retain. Reports suggest the communication was lukewarm at best. Adidas essentially said, "Here's an offer, take it or leave it." So he walked. Think about that for a second. What would have happened if Adidas just paid attention? If they saw beyond the traditional big man or slashing guard and recognized the paradigm shift Steph was about to unleash? It's a multi-billion-dollar question they're probably still asking themselves today. So, with Adidas out of the picture, Steph turned to the undisputed king of basketball footwear, Nike. This was it, right? The biggest brand and the biggest stage, except it was anything but. The meeting in August 2013 between Steph, his agent, and the Nike representatives has gone down in corporate lore as one of the dumbest mistakes in sports marketing history. Imagine this. You're Steph Curry, showing flashes of brilliance, and you're sitting across from the most dominant sports brand in the world. And they kick off the meeting by mispronouncing your name. A small detail, perhaps, but a colossal sign of disrespect and a glaring lack of preparation. It immediately set a negative tone. But it gets so much worse. As the presentation went on, the projector screens behind the Nike execs began cycling through slides, except these weren't Steph Curry slides. These were generic, clearly recycled slides that still featured Kevin Durant's name. It screamed, "We don't care enough about you to even create a custom presentation." Then came the lowball offer, a take-it-or-leave-it proposition that didn't include a clear path to his own signature shoe. For a player who was already showing signs of being a generational talent, it was insulting. Nike's confidence, perhaps bordering on arrogance, led them to believe they didn't need to cater to a player like Steph. They had LeBron, KD, Kobe, and a seemingly endless supply of stars. They simply didn't see Steph as part of that elite signature shoe-worthy club. Steph had seen enough, so he stood up, walked out, and never looked back. It was a pivotal, life-altering decision, and Nike's epic misstep opened the door for a brand no one saw coming. With Nike and Adidas out of the picture, where did Steph Curry go? To a company that at the time was virtually a non-factor in the basketball shoe market, Under Armour. Under Armour was known for compression gear, football, and lacrosse. Basketball? Not so much. They were struggling to gain traction, a desperate underdog looking for a breakthrough, and Steph Curry, the underestimated superstar, was their Hail Mary. This wasn't just a simple endorsement deal, it was a partnership born out of mutual respect and a shared vision. Under Armour offered Steph something Nike never would: complete creative freedom. They weren't just offering him money, they were offering him the chance to build a brand within their brand. They genuinely listened. They allowed him to incorporate his deep faith, including the Bible verse, "I can do all things" from Philippians 4:13, onto his signature shoes. They worked closely with him to develop his unique Curry logo. It wasn't just about putting his name on a shoe, it was about making sure he was involved in every detail of the product. The initial few signature shoes, like the Curry one, were, to be frank, a bit clunky aesthetically. They didn't have the immediate cool factor of a Jordan or a LeBron shoe. Critics were quick to point out their design flaws. But here's the thing. They still sold. They sold because Steph was already a star and kids wanted to wear what the new sensation was wearing. Slowly but surely, that initial gamble began to pay off. SC30, the Curry brand within Under Armour, started growing. It was no longer just about a shoe, it was about a movement, about believing in the unconventional. Under Armour showed genuine belief in Steph when others scoffed, and that belief would soon pay dividends beyond their wildest dreams. The 2014 to 2015 NBA season wasn't just a great year for Steph Curry, it was a watershed moment. He exploded, became the MVP, leading the Golden State Warriors to their first NBA championship in 40 years. His shooting and ball handling was unlike anything the league had ever seen. And on his feet, Under Armour. The very next season was even more mind-boggling. Steph became the first ever unanimous MVP, led the Warriors to a record-breaking 73-9 regular season, and transcended basketball to become a global phenomenon. And guess what shoe everyone wanted? The Under Armour Curry 2. It became a monstrous bestseller. The Dub Nation colorways, the iron sharpens iron designs, these shoes were flying off the shelves. As Steph ascended, so did Under Armour's stock price. In 2015 alone, Under Armour's stock surged by over 30%, largely attributed to the Curry effect. Suddenly, Under Armour wasn't just a football brand, it was a legitimate player in the basketball market, directly challenging Nike and Adidas. Financial reports from that period showed Curry's signature shoes were not just competing, but in some quarters they were outselling LeBron's and KD's signature lines. That's an almost unimaginable feat for a brand that was an afterthought in basketball just a few years prior. This was a power shift. Steph Curry had not only conquered the NBA, but had also completely changed the game for the multi-billion-dollar sneaker industry. The Steph boom wasn't just a flash in the pan, it was the start of something special, something that would last. Under Armour saw that they had struck gold, so they went all in on their partnership with Steph. In 2020, they cemented their partnership with a lifetime deal, reportedly worth over $1 billion. This elevated Steph to the same tier as Michael Jordan in terms of brand partnership longevity and value. This deal also saw the official launch of the Curry brand, a standalone division within Under Armour mirroring Nike's iconic Jordan brand. Steph now has full creative control, design input, and a significant role in identifying and nurturing the next generation of athletes. It's no longer just Under Armour featuring Steph Curry, it's Curry brand, a testament to his influence and the trust Under Armour had placed in him. You could practically feel Steph's triumph, and for Nike and Adidas, the regret was just as clear. Even Phil Knight, the legendary co-founder of Nike, admitted in his 2016 memoir, Shoe Dog, that missing out on Steph Curry was easily the biggest mistake of his career. Think about that. The man who built Nike acknowledging such a colossal error. Adidas, for their part, has remained mostly silent on the topic. But the sting of letting a future global icon walk away for pennies on the dollar must still linger. While Nike and Adidas continue to dominate the overall sportswear market, they both had just lost the most influential player of a generation in basketball. They overlooked the subtle revolution, the paradigm shift in skill and popularity. Meanwhile, Steph Curry, through sheer will, talent, and a little help from a desperate underdog brand, turned Under Armour into a legitimate force in the sneaker world, cementing his place in basketball history. Beyond the stock prices and the big brand deals, the real proof of Steph's partnership with Under Armour is in the shoes themselves. Those first few designs, like the Curry 1, got some flack for their look, but the line really took off fast. The Curry 2 wasn't just a hit, it was a huge step up in design. Then came the Curry 3s and Curry 4s, which brought an even sleeker, sharper look. With each new shoe, from the Curry 5s all the way up to the 7s, Under Armour just kept making the tech better. They packed in new stuff like their UA hover cushioning to make the shoes super bouncy and responsive. But the real game changer came with the Curry Flow 8s. It was the first one released under his standalone Curry brand, which was a huge deal, and it introduced UA Flow technology, which totally changed the game by combining cushioning and grip into one super light, sticky foam. This meant no rubber on the bottom, making the shoes unbelievably light and giving an amazing feel for the court. This new tech kept getting better with the Curry 9s, 10s, 11s, and now the Curry 12. Each new model built on Flow, constantly improving how responsive, comfy, and durable they were, all while staying super lightweight. This dedication to making those shoes better and better with Steph's direct help is actually what made the Curry brand a lasting success and not just a one-hit wonder. Steph's success with Under Armour didn't just hurt Nike and Adidas. It probably forced them to completely rethink things. Before Steph, they often seemed to focus on the big, powerful players. But Steph showed the whole world that the smaller, shifty guard, the guy who could shoot from anywhere, could be a global superstar and move massive amounts of shoes. Did this make them look harder at players like Damian Lillard, Kyrie Irving, or even younger guards coming up? Absolutely. You can bet they reevaluated how they approached all their athlete partnerships after this. Maybe it pushed them to offer more creative control or even bigger, more personalized deals to their existing stars, desperately trying to prevent another Curry situation from happening again. They're still giants, no doubt, but missing out on Steph had to be a wake-up call. It certainly forced them to adapt their game plan and maybe even be a little less cocky when looking for the next big thing. It's a prime example of how even the biggest companies can learn a painful lesson from an underdog. What Steph Curry's journey reveals isn't just about basketball greatness. It's a masterclass in proving everyone wrong. From being an undersized college kid dismissed by major programs to slipping in the NBA draft, the consistent thread is how frequently he was underestimated. And nowhere was that oversight more costly than with the sneaker giants. They had their chance to partner with a revolutionary, and they simply missed it. So in the end, that massive blunder by Nike and Adidas didn't just hurt their bottom line, it fueled Under Armour's rise and cemented Steph's legacy as more than just a player. His story is a powerful reminder that true potential often hides in plain sight. He didn't just redefine the game, he showed the world how belief can fundamentally disrupt even the most established industries. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the business of basketball and want more stories like this, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.